Alright, so it's a brand new day and a brand new year, so let's go ahead and start this off with a new book review. Let's have some fun, ladies and gentlemen. What's going on, guys? This is Crazy Ken here, and today I'm here to bring you a new book review, and also happy New Year's to you. I hope you guys are having a fantastic New Year so far. We are now in a new decade. This is awesome. Okay, so it's no big secret that I am a huge fan when it comes to nerd stuff, especially when it comes to like the Lord of the Rings video games. But if there's one franchise I could tell you that I hold very dear to my heart, it would have to be Star Wars. No matter what you say about these movies, Star Wars is a phenomenon. Whether you're playing the games, whether you're watching the movies, or whether you're listening to the music, Star Wars is more than just a franchise. It is literally a cultural phenomenon. Everybody knows everything about Star Wars, from kids to grandparents to teenagers. It's that big of a deal. As a matter of fact, it was such a big deal that I pretty much made a review on the Rise of Skywalker on my gaming channel. And if you want to check that out, I'll leave a description down below. But despite all that, despite me being a huge Star Wars fan for many years, I have never read a Star Wars book. Traitor! Well, that's a lie. I have read Star Wars books, but they were actually comic books, and I read a good some of them. I read the Darth Vader comics, I read Darth Maul, I read Dr. Aphra, the Screaming Citadel. There's a lot of Star Wars comic books out there. Hell, I even read the first issue of Captain Phasma, which I'm still trying to figure out how is it that Disney pretty much built up this character and killed her off in The Last Jedi. But I'm not getting mad. It's gonna be a peaceful new year, and I let things go sometimes.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying?
But other than that, I never actually sat down and actually read an actual Star Wars book, like an actual novel. And now, since Disney has decided to pretty much make every single Star Wars novel before they pretty much bought the license, Legends. So if you guys don't know what I'm talking about here, is when Disney pretty much bought the license to Star Wars, they realized there was a whole lot of stories that is based around Star Wars, even spanning as far back as when the first movie came out, which is back in 1977. So in order to pretty much clear up some of the confusion that pretty much will come along when they made their own trilogy of Star Wars films, they decided to pretty much take all the pre-Disney novels, or anything before Disney took over the license of Star Wars, and make them into legends. So basically what it is that these are Star Wars stories that are no longer canon to the original saga. So basically anything having to do with the Clone Wars before Disney, anything having to do with The Force Unleashed, anything having to do with, like, I guess, Star Wars video games and anything else, is no longer canon. Well, that was great, because I was pretty much trying to figure out if the Star Wars Christmas special was actually canon to begin with. Thank you, Disney, for clearing that up for me. But other than that, so I'm going to be looking at, so in the future, I'm going to be covering both novels that are pretty much covered the actual canon, and I'm going to be covering novels that covered the legends portion. So that way it'll pretty much like you know, be more expanded. And that's basically the future of my Star Wars reviews. So let's go ahead and talk about this one. First Star Wars book I decided to go ahead and pick up was Lords of the Sith by Paul S. Kemp. And as you guys already guessed it, this is a Darth Vader novel, and honestly, this was actually a big surprise to me. This is something that I actually expected to be like something that could be made into either like a side story, like the Disney side story films that we pretty much seen, like Rogue One and Solo. I'm hoping that we can pretty much pick this up like a show or like a movie, something. I don't know. Maybe they'll make a Darth Vader show. Hopefully, I don't know. So basically, this is a novel about Vader and his master, Emperor Palpatine. And when I first went into the book, I did not expect this book to be as intense as I pretty much found out about it. It's a really good read, and I actually sat there and enjoyed every single moment as I was reading it. But before we go ahead and get right into the book even deeper, let's go ahead and talk about the author, who is Paul S. Kemp. Now, for those of you that don't know who he is, responsible for writing other Star Wars stories as well. He wrote Coruscant, he wrote Riptide, and he even wrote one that was based off of the Old Republic games, which is called Deceived. but he's even written other books that are outside of Star Wars as well. Like, for example, he's written numerous fantasy novels such as The Hammer and the Blade, as well as A Discourse on Steel. So I haven't been reading a lot of fantasy other than the ones I know, like Narnia and Lord of the Rings. So I'm probably going to be diving more into more fantasy books to see, and I probably might pick up one of his books. But when I say this guy can write a damn good book, I really mean it. He can write a damn good book, because not a lot of books, especially Star Wars books, can catch my attention like this guy has. And I was pretty much sitting there like, holy crap, this is really interesting. I mean, once you get past the boring stuff, his writing can pretty much like give you more of description, like you're actually sitting there and watching a Star Wars like movie or show taking place right in front of you. It's like it just grips your attention and whatnot. This book is focusing on Vader himself, but it also focuses on his master, like I said it does. So Vader and Palpatine were on their way to the planet of Ryloth, which is a valuable source for the Empire for narcotics and slave labor, when all of a sudden when they were attacked by a rebel force which are called the Free Ryloth Movement. So this force is pretty much commanded by Cham Syndulla, who, if you probably know who that is, he made an appearance in Star Wars, the Clone Wars, the series, and he also made an appearance in Star Wars Rebels. And his second in command, Isval, they pretty much attacked the Empire, and then they destroyed the Star Destroyer that Vader and the Emperor were on, and then after that they pretty much had to escape the destruction of the Star Destroyer, and then they land on the planet itself. Except it's not just the rebels that they have to deal with at this point. Is actually the wildlife, different things trying to kill them. So Vader and the Emperor find themselves on the planet and not only dealing with the rebellious Twi'leks, but also dealing with dangerous wildlife and even a traitor amongst the Imperial ranks. I honestly thought the story wasn't all that thrilling as it pretty much made itself out to be. I mean, it's a Vader and Palpatine story, the most dangerous dudes in the galaxy, like only people to rule the galaxy. So when you pretty much make a story like that and then try to put these two in a dangerous situation, I don't think they're gonna be in that much of a dangerous situation. It would be one thing if it was like a Luke Skywalker story and it was Luke who had to deal with certain things that were going on in the book, but it's not. As we've seen in comics and in other media, this is just another day in the life for these two Sith Lords. They deal with crap like this every single day. They deal with rebel forces pretty much trying to take down the Empire every day. I mean, hell, Vader has his own personal team of Inquisitors to hunt down the Jedi and to kill them once they find them. I mean, it's not that much of a challenge. They even treat this whole situation like an everyday thing, to the point where it's like there are moments where in most scenarios, most people would pretty much be, concerned. They would be scared. They would pretty much like try to like keep their cool underneath this situation. But Vader and the Emperor, they just keep their cool all throughout. Like they just don't even care. So it's like when you try to make a story to where they're being put in danger like that, they're gonna wind up more bored than the audience reading your book. I'm sorry to say. It just, that's how it feels to me. Like they don't show that they give a shit at all. I mean, Vader, even in the beginning of the book, he just starts off just slashing off like rebels everywhere after he just casually crashes ship into like the side of a stolen vessel, and then next thing you know, he uses his lightsaber to just cleave through all of them like it was nothing. I mean, if the characters are not gonna try to take it seriously, what makes you think I'm gonna take it seriously? That's my one gripe about that. That's my one nitpick about this book. And speaking of the characters, of course, there's more than just Vader and the Emperor. In addition to the story, there's the members of the Free Ryloth. Like I said, there's Cham Syndulla, and then there's the second in command, Isval. And Isval is a very interesting character, which I will go into later on. And then also there are members of the Imperial Army, which is Moff Delion Morse, I think I said her name right, and also the traitor amongst the ranks, which is Belcor Dre. And my thoughts is that even though that the story wasn't really all that thrilling, I enjoyed the characters. If there's one thing I can love about Star Wars, is that even if you don't like the story, you will always enjoy at least one character out of it. And I freaking enjoyed all of them, learning more about them, their goals, and what they hope to gain from these events, not just with Vader and the Emperor, but everyone else too, with the exception of one character. And I will tell who it is in a moment, but let me go ahead and break it down for each one of them. So Vader wants to prove himself to be worthy of his master while trying to bury every remnant of his past life. One thing I gotta pretty much point out, this whole story takes place literally 8 years after the events of Revenge of the Sith. So Vader is still like early in his career. He's just trying to bury all these emotions, all these memories, all these things that he's thinking about from his past life. So when he's slaughtering any who oppose the Empire, there are moments where he drifts back to his old life and he remembers certain things, like he remembers the Clone Wars, he remembers his old Padawan Ahsoka, he remembers Obi-Wan, his wife, how he pretty much lost everything, how his old master Obi-Wan pretty much left him for dead on the planet Mustafar. It's like the more he pretty much tries to fight against it, the more it just comes out, and it just makes you feel really bad for him, how he pretty much allows the reader to feel the self-loathing that he has for the monster that he has become. He's basically the reason why he lost everything. It's just sad to sit there and to just watch him pretty much struggle with something like that. And then we go on to his master. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I love Palpatine only for the reason that he is a total dick. Like literally throughout the entire book, he pokes and prods Vader just so he can air quote test him and to make sure that he keeps Anakin Skywalker dead and buried, and he becomes Darth Vader and whatnot. So what he does is that he'll pretty much like, you know, poke at Vader or pretty much reopen a wound and pour salt in it by bringing up certain things from his past life. And then also the Emperor will try to like use every means necessary to pretty much try to find out the rebels and weed them out and whatnot. And the one thing I like about the Emperor is that he is like so calm throughout this book, and it pretty much shows you just how much in control of the whole situation he has. Like even if it's like a situation that he never really intended to happen, he'll pretty much sit there and be like, everything's going according to plan. So it makes me wonder, like, does the Emperor use the Force to tell the future or something? Like, can he do that? I don't even know. Cham is a fighter who's fighting for the freedom of his people. He's a Twi'lek fighter who's pretty much like going against the Empire, and he's pretty much trying to like free his planet from the Imperial rule. And the one thing I like about him is that he doesn't try to be the whole macho man leadership type of guy. He pretty much shows that he can get confused, that he could get stressed out, and that he pretty much like has moments to where he's just weighing his options and trying to think of like a backup plan and just in case something fails. Like you see him try this and you see him care for the people who follow him and whatnot, but also you see him struggle, and that's something that I like to see. You see somebody in a leadership role, but then they show moments to where they struggle, and even if they try not to show everybody else, they literally show that they are just people and they're trying their best to like go with the situation or use the situation to their advantage. And that's probably why I like Cham in this one, because of the fact that it's like he knows the role he's given, he knows that it's a lot to pretty much bear, but he still goes on anyway to fight for the freedom that he hopes for. And then the next character I love to death, and this is a pun intended, is Ishval, and she's pretty much Cham's second in command. She's also Twi'lek, and also she is a murder-happy psychopath with a deep hatred for the Empire. So because of the fact that she has like terrible memories of like being an escort and whatnot, to where she had to suffer a whole lot of stuff, she pretty much carried a grudge at the Empire ever since. So she uses her her brutal skills in order to pretty much like, you know, go ham on the Empire and whatnot. And there's one point in the book where I like where she pretty much like spends most of her time just breaking into like certain facilities where she frees certain Twi'lek slaves from like, you know, prostitution and whatnot, and then she tries to find them better homes and everything just so they can have a better life. But then later on it pretty much shows that in the reality, even though that she thinks that she's doing the right thing, she knew that these girls could barely survive out there in the world by themselves, to the point where they had to fall back into that life, and it makes her question if what she's doing is actually a good thing. But yeah, you know, like I said, Star Wars can get pretty dark. She pretty much has like high respect for Cham, and that, and then you get to see just how much respect that she has for him. Like anything that he does, she pretty much like says, yeah, that is a good leader right there. And another character in this is Moff Mors, and basically she's the lazy Imperial officer who's taking charge of the planet Ryloth. She doesn't get her job done much, and despite the fact that she has some really lazy qualities, she's deeply devoted to the Empire. And she shows this like later on in the book, to where Vader and the Emperor had crash landed in a hostile environment, and then she pretty much puts away her lazy duties, and then she goes out and tries to find them and whatnot. So it just shows you that she still has like Imperial blood in her veins. And then we go on to probably the one character that I hate more than anything in the entire book is Belker Dre. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. This is the most uninteresting, unlikable, and all-around self-righteous prick throughout the entire book. He's literally the stereotypical sleazy yes man who will stab you in the back as soon as you let your guard down if it pretty much benefits him. He's basically the same as every other officer that you've seen in the Empire in every single Star Wars media. He's the Orson critic. He's the Tarkin. He's the freaking any other admiral or imperial officer in the damn movie. It's the same. The only thing that's different about him is the fact that he has the tendency to try to manipulate certain things to go in his favor. Like his end game is to pretty much try to get Moff Mors discredited just so he could take over her position and to pretty much like establish himself as Moff of pretty much the entire planet, which is like, okay, not like I heard this plot like 100 times or anything. Is there any other reason why he's in this book? No, just that. Oh, okay. But then the worst thing is that later on as the book goes on, as because he works with Cham and the rest of the Resistance, and he's the traitor to the Empire. Cham pretty much makes it to where Belcor is basically his bottom bitch, where every single time when they need something, Belcor is there to pretty much give them information. And then they pretty much made it to where they take control, and Belcor, all he has to do is pretty much sit there and follow directions. He hates it when he's not the one taking control, and he hates it when he's the one who's losing control, because then he just winds up just losing his goddamn mind. And I'm just like, can somebody just kill this character already so I can get on with my life? But other than that, let me go ahead and give my honest opinion right now. Out of all honesty, the characters that I enjoyed the most out of this book would have to be Cham and Isval. And here's my reason why. They're like complete polar opposites, where one is calm, one is collected and tactical, while the other one is headstrong, fierce, and bloodthirsty. But when they're in the field, they work as a perfect team. They're always calling the shots. They're always pretty much playing off of each other. They always wind up watching each other's back when it comes to the field, on and off the field. And this is probably one thing that I pretty much like about these characters, is the interaction between them. Like, you could tell that these two care about each other, and this is one of the many moments where you feel that and you want them to be together. As a matter of fact, it's one of those moments where you just want them to survive this and to get out of this, just so they can wind up being with each other. They know they like each other, they know they want to be with each other, but at the same time they can't put that before the mission, so of course they had to put away their feelings and stuff. She pretty much like undermines him and whatnot, but at the same time she's always dependent on him, and he's always dependent on her. And it's kind of like the same as any other relationship, where you get into an argument with somebody, and then next thing you know, y'all go back and forth, and then y'all just like, well, let's come to this agreement. And then once you come to this agreement, and then you're back to being a team again. I kind of like that. It's much better than Vader's relationship with Palpatine, because literally it's the worst goddamn relationship I've ever seen. It's not like they're dating or anything. This is just basically like the master pretty much being a total asshole to the student. Like every single time, it's like every time he's just dicking around with Vader. Like he tries everything he can to get this man upset, even to the point where there was one point where they were attacked by a couple of wildlifes in the book, and Vader just sat there and contemplated, if I let him die, I could take over the galaxy all by myself, and then I don't have to worry about him. But then he quickly just dismissed that from his mind, and he goes in to help. And then the funniest thing that made me laugh is the fact that Palpatine was like, Lord Vader, did you consider on letting me die? And then Vader was like, I can't lie, so whatever. He's like, yes, but only for a moment, because I'm still here to pretty much save you, my master. And he's like, okay, good. I was like, that's it? You're not gonna hit him with the Force lightning? You're not gonna like scold him? You're not gonna snarl and pretty much get mad at him? He just literally admitted to the fact that he would have let you die if he had the damn chance. Or maybe he pretty much knew that even if he did let the Emperor pretty much get eaten, the Emperor was pretty much going to like survive that shit. I mean, come on, he's a Sith Lord. He could shoot lightning out of his hands. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, that's like saying that the Human Torch wasn't going to survive like an ice cube factory. But other than that, that's all I have to say about the book. Let me go ahead and get into my final thoughts. So, Lords of the Sith was definitely a fun read from beginning to end. This makes me wanted to actually be a big screen production, or in this case just to be another show on Disney Plus. The book describing Vader and Palpatine fighting side by side was definitely an interesting concept to where I actually want to see this happen. Like, we've seen Vader pretty much go out and pretty much slash and cut down many enemies in the Empire and everything, but when it comes to Palpatine, we only seen him fight in that one movie, but we never seen him fight anyone ever again. So that kind of sucked. So it would be nice to pretty much see that on the big screen. I'm hoping it will happen one day, or at least make it into a Disney Plus show like The Mandalorian, The Clone Wars, and something. Like, give us that. Even if it's an animated show, I don't care. Just give us something to where we could see like Vader and Palpatine just going on an adventure at least. Like, I would love to see that. I actually enjoyed this book. I thought it was pretty good. I hope I explained it as best as I could. I actually enjoyed this book. I consider it a definite read for Star Wars fans, and if I could, I would give this book a 9 out of 10. It is that much fun to read. I actually enjoyed it. Paul S. Kemp pretty much did a really good job just writing the book and everything, and I probably will pick it up later on in the future and read it all over again. Maybe, but I still got a whole lot other books to read, and I got a new year to pretty much get into. So anyway, guys, if you pretty much read this book, what did you think about the book? Was there things that you liked from Lords of the Sith? Were there things that you didn't like from Lords of the Sith? Or is there any other Star Wars books that you pretty much have a favorite of? Or if you want me to cover, please comment below. Let me know. If you have a favorite Star Wars book, comment below in the comments, and then I'll pretty much take a look at it myself. Whether it's Legends, whether it's canon, it doesn't even matter. Even if it's a comic book, I'll pretty much cover it. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoy it. This is Crazy Ken, and also, happy reading. And also, Happy New Year. Hope you guys enjoy it. See you guys later. Bye.